A car tire begins its life with deep grooves, sharp edges, and thousands of tiny surfaces ready to touch the road. Then, from the very first drive, it starts erasing itself. Every stop, every corner, every hard launch, every hot day on asphalt removes a little rubber. By the time the tire is finished, the most important part of it has literally disappeared. That sounds like failure, but it is one of the cleverest bargains on a car. Tires are not designed to last forever because a forever tire would be a terrible tire. It would be too hard, too slippery, too noisy, and too willing to pass every shock straight into the vehicle. The tire has to give something up so the car can grip, steer, stop, and stay predictable. So the mystery is not why tires wear out. The mystery is why we trust a machine at highway speed to 4 pieces of rubber that are constantly sacrificing themselves. The answer is hidden in the place where the tire and the road meet. Most of the time, a tire is invisible in the driver's mind. You turn the wheel and the car turns. You press the brake and the car slows down. You accelerate and the car moves forward. It feels as if the tire is simply rolling, but rolling is only the calm version of the story. At the bottom of every tire is a small flattened patch of rubber. That patch is the only place where the car can ask the road for anything. It asks for grip while accelerating, grip while braking, grip while turning, and grip while carrying the weight of the vehicle. All of those jobs pass through rubber that is being squeezed, stretched, heated, and dragged across stone and asphalt. The tire has to be soft enough to conform to the road, because real roads are not smooth. They are rough landscapes of small peaks and valleys. The rubber presses into those surfaces, wraps around them, and creates friction. But the tire also has to be strong enough to hold its shape, carry the car, resist heat, and survive thousands of repeated impacts. That is the everyday compromise. If the tire were too hard, it would last longer on paper, but give up grip when the driver needed it most. If it were too soft, it might grip beautifully for a short time and then destroy itself too quickly. A useful tire lives between those extremes, and that middle ground means controlled wear. The idea goes back to a simple problem with wheels. A hard wheel can roll, but it does not forgive the road. Wood and metal wheels could carry weight, yet they made every stone, rut, and crack part of the ride. They were durable in one sense, but they were harsh, loud, and limited. Rubber changed the bargain. Solid rubber softened the ride, and later, air-filled tires added a flexible cushion between the vehicle and the ground. That cushion did more than make travel comfortable. It allowed the wheel to keep contact with uneven surfaces instead of bouncing away from them. Better contact meant better control. As vehicles became heavier and faster, the tire stopped being just a cushion and became a carefully designed contact machine. The tread pattern had to move water. The rubber compound had to grip in heat and cold. The sidewall had to flex without collapsing. The carcass inside the tire had to carry load, while the outer surface did the messy work against the road. That history explains why wear became part of the design rather than a surprise. The outer tread was the replaceable working layer. It could be tuned for traction, comfort, heat, noise, and weather, while the stronger structure beneath it kept the tire together. Instead of making the whole wheel permanent and unforgiving, engineers made the surface do the changing. That is why the worn tire tells a useful story. It is evidence that the tire's working layer has been spinning itself where the work actually happens. The main reason tires wear out is that grip is not free. To grip the road, rubber has to deform. It squashes into the rough surface, stretches as it enters the contact patch, relaxes as it leaves, and scrubs sideways whenever the car steers, brakes, or accelerates. That constant deformation turns motion into heat. Rubber is useful because it is viscoelastic. It behaves partly like a spring and partly like a thick fluid. When it bends, it stores some energy and loses some energy as heat. That loss helps the tire cling to the road instead of sliding over it like a hard plastic wheel. But the same process also stresses the material. Tiny pieces tear away. Edges round off. Tread blocks lose height. The tire trades its own material for traction. The road is much harder than the tire. Asphalt and concrete are full of mineral particles with sharp microscopic edges. Under the weight of the car, those edges press into the tread. When the tire rolls, the rubber does not simply lift cleanly away. It drags, stretches, and releases. Over many miles, that repeated scraping removes rubber and particles so small they become dust. The tread pattern adds another layer to the bargain. Grooves are not decorative. They give water somewhere to go, so the rubber can reach the road instead of riding on a film of water. But grooves only work while they have depth. As the tread wears down, the tire has less room to move water, less edge to bite into loose surfaces, and less working rubber before the structure underneath is exposed. Tire compounds are built around trade-offs. More grip usually means the rubber can move and interlock with the road more easily, but that can mean faster wear. More wear resistance can improve lifespan, but it can reduce wet grip, cold grip, ride comfort, or braking feel. Racing tires show the extreme version of this. They can grip fiercely because they are willing to spend rubber quickly. Ordinary road tires have to be more balanced, but the principle is the same. There is also heat. A tire that runs too hot can wear faster because the rubber becomes easier to tear and smear. Underinflation can make the tire flex too much. Overloading can increase the stress in the contact patch. Hard cornering can scrub the shoulders. Emergency braking can remove rubber in a single dramatic moment. The tire is designed to tolerate these forces, but not to be untouched by them. So tire wear is not random disappearance. It is controlled conversion. The car turns fuel or battery energy into motion. The brakes and the road turn some of that motion into heat. The tire sits in the middle, constantly converting force into grip, heat, and microscopic rubber loss. The missing tread is the receipt for the grip you used. You can see the design logic by looking at a used tire closely. The center of the tread may be flatter. The shoulders may be rounded. The small, sharp edges of a new tire may be softened. In the grooves, small raised wear bars sit lower than the fresh tread around them. When the tread wears down near those bars, the tire is showing that its working layer is almost spent. Different wear patterns tell different stories. A tire worn more in the center may have spent too much time with too much pressure. A tire worn heavily on both shoulders may have been flexing too much. A tire with one edge worn faster may be pointing to alignment trouble. A tire with cupped or scalped patches may be reacting to suspension movement. The tire is not only wearing, it is recording how the car meets the road. The most important proof is that the tire wears where the job happens. The tread is the surface that touches the road, moves water, creates friction, and accepts scraping. The steel belts, fabric plies, beads, and sidewall structure are not supposed to be the everyday sacrificial layer. They are there to hold shape and strength. The tread is the planned working skin. That is why a worn tire can still look like a tire, and yet be fundamentally different from a safe new one. The circular shape remains. The black rubber remains. But the geometry of grip has changed. The grooves are shallower. The tread blocks are lower. The edges are less able to bite, and the channels are less able to clear water. What disappeared was not decoration. It was working material. The common mistake is thinking that the best tire would be the one that never wears out. That sounds sensible until you imagine what that tire would have to be. It would need an extremely hard surface, one that refused to give itself to the road. It might last a long time in a simple abrasion test, but it would be worse at the thing a tire is actually for: controlled contact. A tire is not a museum object. It is a service part. Its value is not measured only by how much material remains. It is measured by how predictably it grips, how well it handles water, how stable it feels, how much heat it can tolerate, and how clearly it tells the owner when it is nearing the end of its useful life. That does not mean all wear is good. Uneven wear, cracking, bulges, exposed cords, or rapid tread loss are warning signs, not design victories. The point is more precise. Normal tire wear is expected because the tread is the part chosen to suffer first. Maintenance matters because it keeps that sacrifice even and predictable. Inflation, alignment, rotation, load, and driving style all decide whether the tire spends itself cleanly or wastes itself early. The deeper misconception is treating durability as a single number. In a real car, durability is distributed. The tire is deliberately less permanent than the wheel, the suspension, and the body of the vehicle, because replacing rubber is better than losing control or damaging larger systems. The tire is consumable because grip is consumable. So the simple answer is that car tires are designed to wear out because the tread is the part chosen to pay for grip. It is softer than the road, flexible enough to deform, patterned enough to handle water, and replaceable enough to be sacrificed before more expensive parts are harmed. That sacrifice is what makes driving feel ordinary. When the road is rough, the tire conforms. When the road is wet, the grooves push water aside. When the driver brakes, the tread stretches and heats instead of letting the car slide helplessly. When the car turns, the rubber gives up a little of itself to hold the line. A tire that never changed would not be a perfect tire. It would be a refusal to make the trade that traction requires. The useful tire is not the one that lasts forever. It is the one that wears slowly, evenly, visibly, and predictably while doing the work we ask of it. That is the hidden design logic in every worn tread. The tire is not merely disappearing. It is spending rubber in exchange for control. And when the tread is finally gone, the object has not failed mysteriously. It has finished the job it was designed to do.